Can't go for that. Yeah, a little Hall and Oates there before I had to sign out of that. So hello, everybody. It is Thursday, as they like to say in the neighborhood. And as I go here, then I go there, and we go everywhere. So we're good. How the heck are you folks? Good to see you. And wow, I was just seeing some of the comments there. Shirley, again, congratulations on your grandson. It's it's one of those mile markers. And Deborah, you young lady, you 15 grandchildren and what, 2 great grandchildren? Wow, way to go. All right, the bloodline continues. So welcome everyone. Mary, how are you? Mary Wins, good to see you. Hey, Brandon, how is the trip to Rome? Be interesting. Got to come on and tell people about it. Let's do that when you get back and get a little breathing room. Lost in Space, what's up? Pen Greedy and Ruby and Jargo and Lady Ellie, good to see you. So what's up? As he goes over here and hits on this one, and that one just isn't working at all. It just does the spinning thing. Well, it's all seems to be spinning. Are we still live, folks? Looks like everything kind of just cut off there. But it's showing it's an excellent connection. So it's obviously something on my end. But I'm live, so that's all that counts. You're alive, that's all that counts. So favor be upon us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. You say it long enough and loud enough and quiet enough, sure enough, it becomes your reality. Imagine living in living in that state of consciousness where there's nothing missing, nothing broken. Far out. All I got to say, go all the way from Croatia. How are you, my brother? Good to see you. And Robert V is in the house. How you doing, brother? Loretta, how are you? London, McLovin, how are you as well? Bernadette, Doris, how are you doing? Nina, there you are. Good to see you. And everybody else. Tina Turner. Wow. And it's a shame when you think she crossed over at 82. And that's old. Wow. I mean, have we been like totally taken over? Jeez, the quest for immortality. That is the holy grail in the tech titans. They're getting old. Look what Jeff Bezos, I'm hearing some stuff that dude is into, and hell, you compare him to Tom Cruise, I guess they know something. I mean, that inevitability of death. Yes. If man is truly a god, then that would be the first thing a god would do. Give itself immortality. Yeah. Well, Tina, I hope you're having fun over there. You've got the answers, or maybe not. At least you have some of your answers, and we do thank you. I never got to see her in concert, but I have seen the footage of the concerts, and the gal could put on a concert. She had some gams, man. Like Kathleen Turner. I think she at one time had her legs insured for $1 million or something like that each. And I think of some of those stars of Hollywood that broke through the barriers. I mean, you think about film for mankind in our litany of ups and downs, our history, that which has been lost, that which we think. But what we do know is that apparently they didn't have any cameras in ancient Egypt. And in Sumer, they didn't apparently have any, smartphones. They wrote all their stuff in the script, the Sanskrit that you look at it and, we know how to read it now, but wouldn't it have been so much easier if just said, here, check out the microfilm. Yeah. But anyway, could you imagine having a ability to film reality? A lot of y'all caught the title. Yeah, it's reversed. But that's what film is. That's what we are. We see it all the time when we see our reflection, or the lack thereof. Write me if you can't see your reflection. We'll have to have you on the show for sure. But yeah. And you think about when film became reality. There are some beliefs of some tribes that they felt that if you filmed them, you captured their soul. They didn't want to be filmed. No cameras, man, no cameras. Because what it does is that it solidifies a moment of history that, if it survives, would survive as well. I mean, I guess from one point of view, all moments of history survive to some form, right? It said that there's an Akashic record. I don't know. I haven't been there personally to see it, but I can certainly think that would be probably logical. Hey, God, would you leave me alone, man? I could, so they say that there is an angel that writes everything down. Now, how many of you know where that is and where that was taken from? Do you know? Well, it was taken from the book of Malachi. Yeah. Bet you didn't know that, did you? You can't cheat now either, because it's out there. But anyway, when you think of what the pioneers did with film, it provided us an outlet and expression. The three great dramas. Everything is under the three great dramas. How many of you know it? Did any of y'all took theater in school? I still remember this. I enjoyed the play. I enjoyed being in plays. But anyway, so you have the classic man against nature. That could be defined as man against God. Then you have the second, man against man. Yeah. And then the final one, man against himself. And everything falls under those three. And what film did for us, it made the make-believe real. It provided escapism. And today we have immersive virtual reality technology that, where you Star Trek of the Next Generation fans, the holodeck is going to become a reality. If we make it, it's a big if. If we make it, the future is coming, from the past. All right. Said all that. Robert, Mackenzie, how are you do? Man against AI? Yeah. I guess that would be one of those philosophical questions. What is AI? Wouldn't it be man against himself? I mean, we invented it, man. So if AI exists, and which we know it does, AI is us, or at least one fractal of us. Someone had to do the programming. Same thing with you and I. Someone had to do the programming. But good question. I like that one. Aren't we already in the holodeck? Lady Ellie, you're right. Because this is a strange ass place. There ain't nothing. It's like, what the freak? So I got my notes here. So, all right, let's get right into it, because this is some of this mind coitus. And most people like coitus. So mental coitus, oh man, I mean, that's some far out shit, man. That's all I got to tell you. So let's go down the mental coitus, road. Yeah, so this can be stimulating. So there is a thought. Cheers, have you got it? Mm-mm. I don't know if they can taste water or thirst, or one would think. I mean, if you read the narratives, that's what hell is. You can't, as in the movie Ghost, if I could just have one more drag off that cigarette, just one. Yeah. So, and it says that spirits thirst. That's a hell of a thing. So, I mean, what the hell are you drinking? I mean, is there another substance out there that I'm not aware of? Because then how would you quench the thirst of a spirit? And we can do it in these bodies. That's pretty cool. Well, we'll find out, I guess, eventually. But anyway, so there is this thought that says that Earth has actually been invaded. And depending on how you are trained to read and perceive and quote unquote understand something is many times dictated by those that in those formative years that you will mirror and adapt those ways. So Earth, we think of planets like Mars, because we can put our telescopes, our electronic eyes, and we can see these things. And we have sent craft there. So man has technically conquered Mars. I think we're finding out that someone was before us and kicked the crap out of those people. I don't know what the hell happened on that planet, but whoo, it was a bad fucking day all around. Just saying. But anyway, so years ago, one of the teachers that I followed, this cat was pretty cool. He had some ideas that was interesting. And one of them was that these things that we call angels, demons, God, the hierarchies, the one that Paul wrote about there in Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, dominions, blah, 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 blah. That what Paul was really describing was another actual physical universe. It is believed by some that when you die, you're going to go to a physical planet. You just don't float your ass out there going, oh, far fucking out, man. Well, where, it's like, no, apparently you have escorts if you get yourself lost, or they escort you to wherever you're going. You don't want to go to Ghostland. You just don't. That's a weird place. But anyway, I digress. So God, Yahweh, that's who God is. I had someone write me and say, how dare you have the audacity to profane God by associating it with some, pagan deity? And I said, well, what the hell are you reading? Wrote back, my Bible. I said, well, there you go. You're not reading your Bible, because in the Bible, it's about to tell you the same story. This God character, well, I don't know how you want to define this, but apparently spirits do indeed need starships. Yeah. And the belief goes that what we have here is a incursion of this other reality, this other realm. It's real. And that these beings that we call gods, angels, demons, the whole structure, are really nothing more than these raiders that come into planets like this one, and they conquer them. They enslave them. And it's very clear that the Hebrew God, Yahweh, that's exactly what he is, as an enslaver. And every freaking thing from that extends from that pinnacle. I mean, they're not talking about Ramsey here. They're not talking about Enki. No, we're talking about Yahweh. He tells you what his name is. But the fact is that Yahweh is from a physical planet. Probably not in this realm, but in a realm, no doubt, that is much mirrored like this one. Some say that it's actually the reverse. So when you write something backwards, you're actually saying it correctly. In fact, there was a mini series, and I believe it was either in the 90s or in somewhere in the 2000s, that actually had a spacecraft come down. Maybe some of you might remember it, the name of it, and this alien, this being, was God. And the story, as it ended up, that one of the humans that was allowed on there, and by the way, he was half goat, half human, and his name was Satan, was his name, and he was from the planet Hell. It was interesting. There is another planet that apparently very vague in its description. We really don't know much about this planet Heaven. It's a closely guarded secret. Depending on your point of view, I mean, if you take John the Revelator and his interpretation, Paul's as well, that apparently it's a cube. I don't know if I've ever seen a planet that was a cube, but if it's a representation of the New Jerusalem that comes down, well, it's a perfect six-sided cube, 1,500 miles high, 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles. And the walls of the city are 1,500 miles across. I mean, yeah. Imagine seeing that coming out of the sky. You got to ask yourself, so why are they talking of a mothership? I mean, that could be another interpretation of this thing. This cube thing coming down represents the New Jerusalem. No, it's still extraterrestrial, because apparently it didn't come from us. And anyway, they thought, as we finish it out on here, is that these beings, this is how they exist. They can transcend realms, dimensions. Now, let's get back here to Earth. So the current thought is that there is this freaking all-out war that has been taking place. Yellow Rose of Texas, I like her interpretation. But if you go back and look at the early work that when Steve Olson and I were doing programs, we got some remarkable footage. There's no doubt about it. And it was very clear that something was going on out there. Something was going on in our solar system, and something that dealt primarily with Jupiter. Something, if you go back and look at Yellow Rose's archives, it's very interesting. I love her interpretation, because I think in many ways it has strong validation. So it is said that when Yahweh conquered this, the only way that it could be done is that it had to be spread to human to human to human, much like a virus. Some call it that, exactly that. It's the God virus. But the theater that we see being played out is exactly that. The demons are the good guys. The angels are the bad guys. But we've been taught to interpret these angels. By the way, I've talked about this so many times, it's ridiculous. We'll bring it up on the next demonology show, because, again, I haven't ever seen one of these demons manifest and freaking kill millions of freaking humans. I damn sure can point out to you in the Old Testament and in the New Testament where these so-called fucking good guys, the angels, right? The white ones, with the beautiful wings, and they bring healing in their wings. These are the same sons of bitches that went out and have wiped us out. They have human blood on their hand. Now, I cannot find a demon or a demigod of any type of nature on Satan or Lucifer's side that has ever done that. Now, you can believe what you want to believe. It's your choice. You're on the animal farm here, but can't find it. But yet, I have to live in a reality where the vast majority of people around me, they think that they're the good guys. That somehow spilling human blood is somehow justified. Why? Because God says so. This God is a vengeful, wrathful God, angry God. And it doesn't have a problem, because if you take the story as it is, it committed human genocide. Now, it's a matter how you look at it, right? Well, it was a sinful world. Compared to what? Compared to what? If you take the story of the fallen angels, the 200, these are alien invaders. This is what they do. Whether they're a renegade group or not, they're still associated with the same group. This is their MO. This is how they operate. This is how they go from planet to planet, from galaxy to galaxy, from realm to realm. This is what they do. They're raiders. But they're going to convince you that, no, we have no blood on our hands. We're holy. We love you. How could you ever speak against us? I'm your God. I created you in my image. How dare you? Well, I guess it depends on what this image is. We have this assumption, and again, it's made asses out of you and me, that somehow this image thing look like us. It didn't say anything like that. We take it for granted that God looks like us. Well, he created us in his image. Well, wait a minute. He has never created anything. But what is his image? If you read certain stories, it is said that our kind, it drives us into madness if we see these forms, these beings in their true states. It completely shatters the whole psyche. It says it blows the soul apart. It sounded more and more like captivity. So, a planet, maybe a bunch of planets, they're a part of this group. I always found it interesting in, I believe it's the 82nd Psalms. Yeah, I believe it's the 82nd, not the 84th, but it gives an insight to something there that I said, and people just, it's said that these gods, these Elohim, that they gather, and there is one that they call El, Supreme. And this is like the dark Sith, really the dark side, the dark force. The God that conquered this realm, because they come in together, they come in as a pact, and then they leave their inside person in charge. And they go on. Apparently, there's a lot of that conquering going on. Well, when they have their annual convention and they have their goodie bags, Yahweh didn't get a goodie bag. And the big guy, the Godfather, he comes in, says, Yahweh, I'm going to kick your ass. You so fucked this thing up that guess what? How they die, you're going to die like that. No one wants to talk about that kind of stuff that's in that Bible. Little snippets, little views. Now, contrary to the story, this place called hell, this is what they do. They go out on rescue missions. But their nature and their being is such of that what we would describe as a place of inhabitability is very much habitable to them. Don't know. They try to come in, but the problem is the character of them has already been played into the program. They're the bad ones. But yet again, I challenge anyone, please show me where any of these demons, any of them, have ever killed one human. Please show me that. Can't. And I often wonder what happens to a living soul when a living spirit kills you. Where do you go? I mean, read the story. If you read the book of Exodus and then read the book of, Joshua, read the book of Deuteronomy. I mean, the book of Judges, book of Chronicles, read them. These angels slaughter humans. They do it at this God's, Yahweh's bid. I can't find their so-called enemies doing the same. So let's talk about what's happening here? that went weird. It's like, what the hell just happened there? I was looking at something and went, that ain't right. So let me show you something. I found this, by the way. And so this is Mount Sinai. And you can clearly see where this ship landed. The radiation was so intense, nothing has grown there ever. Let's go into another one. I mean, you can see the demarcation very, very distinct. Now, isn't it odd that when you writers, I love them. These guys that write a lot of the shows, about all of them, but there is a certain group that they channel, man, and they channel some heavy stuff. And the SG-1 Stargate, you know, that this is how the Gaul and the Egyptian gods travel. They travel, you know, in their pyramid ships. And this is what they do: as they come down, they will actually attach itself to something physically on the ground. And if you've ever seen the movie, the same thing happens there. I just think that's very interesting. Here's another view. So I'm giving you, in this case, the 360, well, 300-degree view. How's that? So check that out. Yeah. Now, it's, and again, clear demarcation point. I heard that the Saudi government has opened this region up. It was forbidden for anyone to come into this region. They kill you, you know, no questions asked. And the thoughts that this leads to is that, all right, so this is where God came and met Moses, right? Now that's a script, but it's predicated upon something that actually happened. And then you got to think about the enormity of the size of a ship this big. Yeah. These are the pictographs that are where the story of the refugees, you know, the children of Israel, the Exodus. Depending on how you kind of look at it, some say that, you know, it was a couple million. Other say, and these are the scientists with the PhDs, that it would have been impossible for 1 million people traveling that merely apparently escaped, you know, out of Egypt to have been able to survive this. I mean, some put the number as probably about 100,000, but it was a large group of people. And if you look at these, it's very interesting. And you can see it, the spiral here. There's a ray that comes out of it. And as you can just see in these points, this is a great wave. Destruction. I mean, you can see others here. Interesting, isn't it? I mean, they got their ass kicked by this Yahweh for this whole belief in, you know, the Egyptian king gods. But yet the bull, I mean, it plays a heavy role in Judaism, in Christianity. Yahweh loved those bulls to be sacrificed. Telling you, the dude, I'm convinced in his realm, there's barbecues all the time going on. Now, I don't know if they just stick with animals. That's a little frightening in that aspect. But anyway, just thought you might like to see that. I think it's kind of far out. Carol, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, with Rex. Yeah, yeah. Grave markers of creators. Hey, Lilith, that's profound. The bull god, Taurus. Yeah, yeah, yep. All over that. Mm-hmm. But still, it's interesting when you think about this. Now, it's I did a Steiger perspective, and actually it was one that was heavily watched, listened to. But all of this comes from this document from this Jesuit, the Sectum Omega. And it's amazing because there is so much, well, the whole setting. And there's a contract here. I'm convinced of it. There's a contract. But with more and more people leaving the faith, quote unquote, the church, it's showing its weakness. And it also shows something else. It shows you what happens when humans stop worshiping individual things, whatever, and begin to think. It weakens these deities. But again, I won't go through all of this. It is quite interesting. Go back in the archives, it's there. And here's the thing. They don't believe the aliens that it is said that have met with the religious leaders, and it is said as well with the leaders of the world, that, yeah, the idea of Jesus was very alien to them. But anyway, so you'll have to go back and look on this. I won't spend the time required, but it was very interesting, as many of you know, because it was well watched. That's all I can say. So, spaceship. Now, it's still interesting when you mix in this story, because I think there is a connection. I could be wrong on this, but the hypothesis is that the encounter at Mount Sinai was, or could be, also traced back to ancient Sumer. I mean, who's to say that Enki, Enlil, El, the rest of them, we know they traveled in ships. If you're a fan of Stitchin', you know that the Anunnaki, that's how they travel, is in ships. We're not quite sure where the Anunnaki went, but, you know, of course, if you believe in the Nibiru story, well, kind of validates the whole predication that no matter how you look at this, these beings are not in the ethereal just floating around. There has to be what we would consider at least some semblance of structure, rules, laws, boundaries. And it's very clear that the message of peace and love has only been war. I don't understand, and someone wrote this, and I appreciate you bringing it out. You know, Jesus is not this cat of love, peace, and unity. You didn't read the Bible, did you? You damn sure didn't read the New Testament, because the dude said, "Buy your swords." He said, "I didn't come here to bring peace." He said, "I came here to bring division. I came here to separate husband, wife, father, son, mother, daughter." And he said that when the time came to sell what you have and buy swords, maybe why we haven't been able to find this peace and love and this unity. It certainly has evaded us. I'm just reading some of this. And thank you for hitting the like button. Appreciate it. Hit the like button, man. That's what they are. Feed the machine. So again, Earth being attacked from planets in the unseen realm called LLEH and NEVAEH. Hell, heaven. I think it's more true than what we can ever imagine. Now, if these beings exist in this ethereal zone, when we die, it becomes even stranger. Because you'd have to ask yourself, what would a race, a species, why would they be concerned with anything once we're dead? Once you're dead, you can't come back. You're dead. I mean, there's nothing you can do for them. I seriously doubt there's much they can do for you. But yet, we have these places that we love to put people in which we know both are made up. The theology is with heaven is that it's a ship, a planet. Earth is a ship. And again, you don't find much written about this heaven place. Hell is a construct of a man that was eaten up with jealousy, it was a bitter man. And it's representative in the horror that he brought down. But hell, it told a good story, man. It got you hooked. And once you got hooked into it, they got you. Yeah. If you read the book of Enoch, just take it in a different perspective. Use 21st technology. Use a 21st mind when you're reading something that you have no relevance to. You have no connection to. When you read these ancient books, you were never a 3rd century person. You couldn't think like a 3rd century person. You couldn't think like a person that lived in 2000 BCE. You can't. No matter what we try to do, you can't. So quit trying to interpret the story in a mindset that you have no idea who wrote it and how they wrote it. You don't know what this person was pissed off. Maybe he beat his wives. Maybe he beat his slaves. I mean, you don't know. Just because they said that the cat was taken up, well, that sounds like an alien abduction. So when you read the story, put it in context. If you've got angels carrying humans to different destinations, it's a planet. It's not out there in the ethereal by and by. It's a fucking physical planet. And apparently it seems like we ascend up, which means that it seems like this realm loses its hold upon us, and our natural tendency is to flee from it. Now, if they got a soul catcher up there, how do we fight it? That's been the debate of many of us. I was reading some of the comments in here. Y'all smart. I love it. I love it. That's why we come in here and it's weird. As I've said before, I've challenged anyone in the ministry, anyone that has their PhD, anyone in their theology or their doctrine, whatever. Show me where God or any God has ever manifested before humanity at the same time. Never happened. Hasn't ever happened. Yeah, we'll kill people over they don't believe our religion. I mean, again, this Yahweh cat. We were reading a little bit about this Yahweh. I like going to it from time to time. So this again is the old ones in the old book. So Yahweh's home. Now in this book, it says that Yahweh was believed to have his home on Mount Sinai in the wilderness to the south of Canaan. Is also shown by scattered allusions elsewhere in the Old Testament. The oldest written in archaic Hebrew and conceivably the most ancient Old Testament text of all is the Song of Deborah in the book of Judges. Thought we might read this. It says, the Song of Deborah celebrates a notable victory of the Bronze Age Israelites. Now think about that. They're in the Bronze Age. Got to really think about this. But more importantly, it's the tribes, the 12 tribes of the hill country against the better armed Canaanites of the plains, equipped, with iron chariots. As a very ancient and stirring text, it is worth quoting at length that the leaders led in Israel, that the people offered themselves willingly, bless Yahweh. So they gave up free will. All of these deities, be on guard. Don't give your will. In the days of Shamgar, son of Anath, caravans ceased, and those who went on journeys used the back roads. Champions were lacking. In Israel, they were lacking. And here's the thing. If a society doesn't have strong males, that society will eventually collapse. It's been proven over and over and over again. The Israelites had a problem. Why? Well, you had a whole tribe that were gay. True. Says, in Israel, they were lacking until you arose, Deborah. Now, Deborah was a warrior, one of the few women actually brought out in the Old Testament, arose as a mother in Israel. You riders on twainy asses, you who sit on saddlecloths, you who walk by the way, tell it forth to the sound of music at the watering places. Let the glorious achievements of Yahweh be sung, triumphs of his heroes in Israel. Yahweh, in your setting out from Seir, when you marched from the region of Edom, the earth shuddered, the heavens quaked, the clouds streamed down water, the mountains trembled before the face of Yahweh. Sinai, before the face of Yahweh, the God of Israel, small g. Then down to the gates marched the people of Yahweh. Up, up, Deborah, up, utter a song. Then down marched the remnant with its chieftains. The people of Yahweh marched down for him against the mighty. Then came the kings and fought. Then fought the kings of Canaan at Teanak by the waters of Megiddo. They took no spoils of silver. From the heavens fought the stars. From their courses they fought against Caesarea. Now, isn't that interesting? There's this battle in the heavens. The torrent of Kishon swept them away. The torrent attacked them. The torrent Kishon. March on, my soul, with might. So perish all your enemies, Yahweh, but your friends be like the sun rising in his strength. It says, at the time of the battles in the second millennium BCE, their territory split in two halves by the Canaanite occupied plain in Jezreel. The Israelites were in dire straits. Then under the leadership of Deborah, they dared to do battle on the plains. The fight was accompanied by exceptionally heavy rainstorm, which bogged down the Canaanite chariots, giving a crucial advantage to the lightly armed Israelites. Yahweh, as a storm god, was responsible for the rain and thus gave them the victory. Notice where Yahweh is described as coming from. Sierra, Edom, and Sinai are stylistic variations of the site in the wilderness where Moses had his revelation. Yahweh is seen as living there on his holy mountain and marching forth to do battle, recruiting the stars and the storm clouds of heaven to do his bidding. Wow. The more, and if you really, I'm trying to find this book in a PDF. I haven't found it yet, but this is really one of those books that, well, quite frankly, it kind of leads you into this place then. What's going on here? I mean, we can read the Sumerian tablets. We know even from the Bible, in the book of Zechariah, that the Sumerians had spaceships, or let's just say they had airships. Zechariah gives a detailed description of one of those airships. It's a saucer, flown by two women, by the way. Imagine that. Two women pilots flying a UFO. Oh, God, yeah, you got to have cats and dogs living together. Ah, crap. I mean, the next thing you know, stars be falling down from the heavens. I mean, yeah. And maybe that's why we're seeing these increases. Maybe Bruce sees all. Go over and check his channel out. I mean, there's freaking armadas up there on the moon. Apparently, there's armadas flying over the earth. What are they gathering for? Is there about to be a battle like, they saw back in Nuremberg back in the day? What was that, 1618? Sometime that period. Is Yahweh going to come in on his ship, blasting, lasers going, doing the whole electromagnetic thing, man, bringing in those cosmic rays? Or is that another thing? Or are we just going crazy as a species? Are the cosmic rays entering through our magnetopause? Is it starting to make us all batty? I've seen some incidents where I said, that person's batshit crazy to me. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, you got to go, what the? Yeah. I don't know. Fiction versus nonfiction. Isn't that so true, JK? I mean, and then it's defining, well, if you say it's fiction, but I say it's fact, well, who's the liar? Who's telling the truth? You can say we both are. Because it's like, okay. The Bible story of the prophet Elijah. Yes. Elijah was another that was abducted. And by the way, if you read that passage in there, he's in a spaceship. It's very plainly, Ezekiel described a spaceship. These people, these gods, these beings apparently have different classes, and certain classes cannot just simply fly about, toodly-dooling and with their white robes or their black robes or whatever. Apparently, a lot of them are limited to their ships. And apparently, there are those who cannot interact with our atmosphere. Now, I wonder if a demon or an angel would have a problem interacting physically with our atmosphere. Are you trying to tell me that they don't have corporeal matter when they're materializing? How are they balancing that? Maybe those wings, maybe what we think is these beings is nothing more than a spacesuit. I don't know. But I do know there's enough evidence, even in the book that I studied for Way too many decades, way too many decades. Now I look back and I can go look at it and I go, what the? And you know, sometimes you just got to just kind of just bap yourself on the head and go, Steiger, it was right there in front of you, dude. Right there. Well, I don't think so. Yeah, I do think so. Anyway, I love this group. Y'all are, I really enjoy this. Enoch was a whole race of people, thousands of years pushed into his story. Shirley, I happen to think you're probably absolutely right on that. I mean, you know, if these are humans, are they sapiens? Because I'm confused on this thing. It seems like the whole freaking story is predicated on sapiens. I mean, what the hell? What about the Neanderthals? They're getting really the crap into this. What about the Cro-Magnons? What about the freaking Denisovans? Where the hell were they on this whole thing was unfolding? I mean, come on. It's like, I tell you what, I think someone's been messing with this. Yeah, I think they've been messing a whole lot with this. We are under the God spell, Nina. You're absolutely right. And it's so evident. You know, I live in a place that we know here that there isn't an actual Satan or an actual Lucifer. We know where those names came from. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a potential thought form that is represented by it in our modern nomenclature. I agree to that. But you also have to be responsible and mature enough and to say, well, you can't say that that is and then ignore this over here. We know that Lucifer was a made-up name by Jerome. And we know that Lucifer does not exist in the ancient Hebraic or Aramaic language. There's no representation of it. None. But with some heavy editing, some redacting, a little forgery, a little plagiarizing, you know, we get the story today. And now you got freaking religions on both sides. Well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a Luciferian. Well, you know, I'm a Baptist. I'm a Catholic. No, I'm a Satanist. You know, come on. They're all beaten off to the same music. I mean, it's just, and I hear this stuff sometimes on the radio, and I think, I'm living back in the freaking Stone Age. These people are simply out there with sticks and stones trying to make fire. Yeah. Well, you gotta have a little bit. If you don't get passionate about this, I mean, come on. Seriously. Yeah, and I look at this. I mean, I love studying the occult. I love studying about, you know, the demons and the angels. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, they can present themselves as what the story says. But, you know, I'm kind of like Friday, you know, Dragnet. You know, I'm not buying it. You seem to have a lot of answer. You talk a lot, but you don't say anything. Seems to me that if you are who you say you are, then we got a problem here in your credibility. And, you know, the problem is, you know, we look for character. One of the chieftains of the character is integrity. And you don't seem to have very much of that. That's what I'd say to Jesus. I'd say to Lucifer, Yahweh, God. I mean, none of them. They lacked credibility for me now. There's no integrity. And then sometimes I enjoy. Yes, I love that in Ghostbusters. Are you a god? Well, of course I'm a god. Got myself trapped in this place, and I'm trying my best to figure out how the hell did that happen and where the hell is the exit door, you know? Well, okay, folks. This has been fun. Maybe on tomorrow. I'm not sure. Try to. Think we can pick it right up from here again, going, okay. Eventually, at one time, we're going to get the epiphany, all of us at the same time, and go, hey, hey. And that's when we're going to go, hey, yeah. Go, what's up? I find the story of Armageddon interesting, where evil men, along with fallen angels, will attack the New Jerusalem. Yeah, yeah. Why? I mean, that's the question. Why? I mean, what do they got in there? That's the whole problem with survival. You know, if you survive the cataclysm, right, and you got all your shit together and the survivors don't, guess what? They're going to come for your shit. And then you ain't got no shit no more. Yeah. All right, folks. Much love to you. Thank you, Lost in Space. Appreciate it. Yeah, have a fun one. I'm going to go out and get on my tractor and start doing some mowing. So that's where I think it. Dargo, thank you. Thank you very much. Deborah, right back at you. Do Ray? What is my true net worth? I don't know. What is our true net worth? I mean, do we get to carry the balance, the ledger up there? Well, hey, man, you know, yeah. Carol, thank you, dear. Thank you. Lori, right back at you. All right, folks. Much love to y'all. And we'll probably hook up tomorrow. Yeah, this has been fun. All right. Until then, hey, live it like it's the most important moment of your existence. You're going to carry the memory with you, so make it a good one. All right.